Hello, everyone. This is Live Life Well TV host Robert Landau. We are back with another episode of our trivia show here that we call Did You Know? So, did you know that we're going to begin in just a minute? Stay tuned. We'd like to acknowledge mentalfloss.com, and here is your first Did You Know? Did you know that there is something called the Outer Space Treaty, which was created back in 1967? The Outer Space Treaty forbids any nation from trying to own the moon. Did you know that as comedian Bob Hope lay on his deathbed back in 2003, his wife, his wonderful wife, Dolores, asked where he'd like to be buried? His reply, surprise me. Sounds like Bob Hope. Did you know that there's only one Blockbuster Video still operating in the US? And that one location happens to be located in Bend, Oregon. Did you know that back in the 1800s, classical music composer Franz Liszt was worshipped like a rock star? In fact, he received so many requests for locks of his beautiful flowing long hair that he eventually bought a dog only to snip off patches of its fur to send to his admirers. Well, I guess that's one way to deal with fame. And how about this unbelievable did you know? Did you know that the world's first underwater mailbox, yes, you heard it right, the world's first underwater mailbox was installed just off the shore of a place in Japan by the name of Susami? When the Japanese town of Susami decided that they wanted to have more tourism, the postmaster there came up with the unique idea of putting a mailbox underwater. That very mailbox is currently in use, but it does require the purchase of waterproof cards and oil-based pens. I wonder why. Once the postcard is written, all the sender has to do, not a big thing, is dive down, way down to where this mailbox exists and insert it into the mailbox at the ocean floor for later pickup. This guy's idea was the perfect tourist attraction that this beachside town in Japan needed to lure more business, to lure more tourists. Those willing to take the plunge can strap on a wetsuit and mail letters from 30 feet under the sea. Incredibly, a dive shop owner there descends each day to collect and deliver these letters to the town's post office back on land. To date, get this, almost 38,000 letters have been sent from under the sea. I don't think I have any words for that. Did you know that a group of ferrets is called a business? Did you know that in 1991, a guy by the name of Wayne Allwine, who was then the voice of Mickey Mouse, married a lady by the name of Russie Taylor, who at the time was the voice of Minnie Mouse? Did you know that half of the world's geothermal features and 2/3 of all the world's geysers, so half of the world's geothermal features and 2/3 of all of the world's geysers, I guess it's geysers or geysers, depending on how you choose to pronounce it, are found in wonderful Yellowstone National Park. Ever been there? I have not, and I've wanted to go so many times. Did you know that the dot over your lowercase I is called a tittle. Ha! Did you know that a group of pugs is called a grumble? Did you know that National Donut Day originally started as a way to honor Salvation Army volunteers who served donuts to soldiers during World War I? Did you know that coyotes outpace roadrunners by 23 miles per hour? Did you know that ravens in captivity can learn to talk better than parrots? Did you know that scientists have found evidence of, I love this, take-out restaurants in the remains of Pompeii? Yeah, now there's proof that back in Pompeii in antiquity, there used to be take-out restaurants. See how long McDonald's has been around? Ah! Did you know that Duncan Hines, the Duncan Hines, was actually a real person? He was a popular restaurant critic who also wrote a book of hotel recommendations. Did you know that in Colombia, it is said that dried ants replace popcorn as the typical movie theater snack? No, I think I'm going to keep going to the movies in the good old USA. Thank you very much. Did you know that at one time, the one, the only George Washington was the nation's largest whiskey producer? He made no less than 11,000 gallons of whiskey in 1799. So now we finally know what George Washington did with his free time. Aren't you glad you tuned in today? Of course you are. Did you know goldfish can distinguish the music of one composer from another? Did you know that before he became president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln was a wrestling champion? Did you know that the oldest customer complaint dates back to ancient Mesopotamia? In the nearly 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablet, a customer way back then claims that he was sold inferior copper ingots. Who would have known? Did you know that the FBI investigated the song Louie Louie? Do you remember the song Louie Louie? I think it was back in the 60s or early 70s. And the FBI investigated that song by the name of Louie Louie because people thought the lyrics were dirty. After 3 months, the FBI abandoned the investigation. You want to know why? Because it couldn't make out the words. Common to this day as well. Did you know that the one, the only Amerigo Vespucci, for whom many historians believe America was named, was an Italian merchant? Amerigo Vespucci, America. Interesting stuff, huh? Wow, what an episode. And yes, there's more. Did you know that a cough can propel saliva droplets as far as 20 feet at speeds of up to 25 to 50 miles per hour? Did you know that editor Bennett Cerf challenged Dr. Seuss to write a book using no more than 50 different words? The result? Green eggs and ham. Did you know that female cicadas have been known to confuse the roar of power tools for mating calls? Sometimes swarming people using lawnmowers. And there are now 2 more left before we close. This is unbelievable stuff, but true. Second to last, did you know is this? The letter Q is the only letter of the alphabet that does not appear in any US territory or state name. Think about that. And finally, it all comes down to this. Did you know that people walked differently in medieval times? Oh, yes, they did. And don't ask me how I know. They stepped with the ball of the foot first. And you want to know why? They did that to check the ground for debris, perhaps because well-soled shoes were very hard to come by back then. Well, this episode wasn't that hard to come by, and we so are honored that you came by to view it. Don't forget to come by again to view all future episodes of Did You Know and past episodes of Did You Know. This has been the one, the only, the venerable Robert Landau, host of Live Life Well TV. Thank you so much for tuning in.